Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. Together, we'll chant from verses 1 to 5 of chapter 3. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Na karmanam
Na karmanam anarambhat.
Naishkarmyam purushošnute.
Naishkarmyam purushošnute.
Nacha sanyasanadeva.
Nacha sanyasanadeva.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi.
Jatu tishtatya karmakrit.
Jatu tishtatya karmakrit.
Karyate hyavashah karma.
Karyate hyavashah karma.
Sarva prakriti jair gunaihi.
Sarva prakriti jair gunaihi.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So we are doing verse number 4 of chapter 3, which is laying the foundation of Karma Yoga. See, whenever a master guides a student, he will not stop with saying, do this, do that. Now, one of the first things which he'll see through is what are the obstacles which that particular student will face in practicing this higher wisdom. See, supposing a person is very fearful. Let us say a person has fear of public speaking. Now, if you go and tell him, let's say he is in the sales field, and if you go and tell him, now you should start giving presentations to groups of people, and that is how you can sell your product and all that. Now your advice is perfect when you see the situation, when you in the context of selling that particular product, your advice may be correct, but you should also take into consideration what is happening within the other person. Can that person follow this or not? That is fully. What are the blocks which that person has which will prevent him from following your advice? So even though you're technically right, that if he gives presentations to various groups, I will introduce you to various associations and organizations, I will arrange for sessions. So you come at one go, you can introduce your products to thousands of people. All that you may say with a good intention. But that person is not in a position to execute whatever you're saying, because he has a block, which is fear of public speaking. So unless and until he overcomes that fear, he will not be able to come and give a proper presentation. You may make excellent arrangements, but all those are external. In the same way, now when a master is guiding a student spiritually, he will give the sadhana, he will explain the higher truths, but he will not stop with that. He will also see what are the blocks which are preventing the student, which will not allow him or her to follow these things. and he will work on helping the student to overcome those blocks. So here, if Krishna gives the Karma Yoga principles directly to Arjuna, now that is not enough, because Arjuna cannot follow that. See, he is having a lot of emotional weakness. He is in a state where he says, we saw it in the first chapter, where he said, I cannot fight. I'm not even able to hold my bow. Unless as an archer you hold your bow, how can you fight? Now, if Krishna just merely tells to Arjuna that, come on, this is your duty, get up, you have to hold your bow and fight. He's saying, I am unable to do that. That is his problem. There are certain factors within Arjuna which is preventing him from doing his duties. What are those factors? Let us not get into the individual factors that we will anyway be seeing, but overall, to see the gist of what is the block which is preventing Arjuna from doing his duties, it is nothing but the tendency to escape, the tendency to run away, which is what here he is calling it as anarambha. Anarambha means, from a sadhana perspective, you should get the deeper meaning, that is the tendency to run away from life. Now you may run away, you may want to escape or run away due to various reasons. You may cite physical reasons. You may cite emotional reasons. You may give some logic. There could be so many reasons. Some people give spirituality itself as an excuse to run away from their duties. I want to, go away to the Himalayas. Why? Because I want to search God. Then what about the various duties which you have here? No, all that God will take care. I will go. Now, if you carefully go behind that statement, deep within, what is prompting a person to say that? It is nothing but the tendency to escape. So, even spirituality can be misused. So, with respect to Arjuna, the reason why he wanted to escape was his emotions, the emotional weakness, the emotional turmoil which was happening within him was so strong that he was unable to face that. So he wanted to run away. So you have to carefully do some self-analysis and see how this tendency of escapism is manifesting in your life. First of all, you have to determine what you need to do in your life. That is what I was telling you, the sadhana of arambha, your duties. You have various roles to play. Now, in all these areas, you will find the tendency of escapism will come and manifest in a particular way. The moment you give any reason for not doing whatever you ought to do, understand that that is nothing but escapism, that is running away. Now, the most difficult part for a sadhak is to locate this, because the tendency to run away will come in a disguise. See, there was a person who used to avoid socializing because he had a fear, a kind of a complex. So whenever somebody used to call him for a function, it could be a birthday party, it could be a marriage, whatever it is. Now, he used to get very stressed about it. Now, I'm giving you the whole background, but when he came and asked me for advice, he didn't say all this. He only said, "Sir, there is a problem which you have. That is, every time I need to attend some important function. It could be with relatives or friends or whatever it is. Invariably, I fall sick. I either get fever or a severe cold. Sometimes I get this wheezing. So the result is I'm unable to go for the outings. I'm unable to attend the various social functions. So all my relatives are unhappy. All my friends are also unhappy. But what they are not unable to understand is I'm having issues. They are saying, we don't believe you. I mean, even though they don't say it explicitly, from the way they talk, I can understand that they don't believe me when I say that I'm having fever, I'm having this. But the fact is, in reality, I'm getting all this. So why is this and how do I solve it? So then I told him, see, this is not your issue. Your issue is not falling sick. Your issue is something else. You have to do some sadhana and discover it for yourself. I gave him some clues. I told him, find out those emotional factors, those mental factors, which are not allowing you to socialize. So he did the sadhana for a while, and then he discovered that very, very deep within him, he had these complexes. He had a deep-rooted fear to socialize. And that fear was a big block. Then he told me that, whenever someone comes and invites him for any occasion, then from that moment itself, his mind used to get very stressed. And as the event was nearing, he used to, become very fidgety, and he never expressed all this to anyone. So he kept it within himself, but he was going through a lot of turmoil. And then just before the event, he used to fall sick. So he understood the whole pattern, how the mind was playing tricks. So the fever or the wheezing or whatever it is which he was getting, that those are the physical reasons. Now, those were all actually not merely physical. The root was in the mind. The tendency to escape due to fear. But when he used to fall sick, that was extremely convincing for him. He said, see, look here, if you go and tell him, no, you just get up and come, he'll say, now take the thermometer and check my temperature if you want. And if you check, it will be 102. See, I have fever. Then how do you expect me to go? All this is so convincing to one's own mind. That is the most important thing which I want you to note. His own mind was very convinced, the conscious mind. that because of these physical ailments, I cannot go. But when he did the sadhana, he found that those physical ailments themselves were nothing but projections of his own weaknesses. Now, why did he develop that fear? That also when he did some more deeper sadhana, in one of the empowerment sessions, he got the clarity. When he was very young, his father, who was very dominant, he used to constantly put him down in front of others. See, all these things his conscious mind had forgotten, but it was all there in the deeper layers of his own mind. So everything came out, those impressions. So his father used to put him down publicly. So over a period of time, he developed a lot of complexes, and he started hating going to a public function. And then after a while, he forgot those incidents, consciously. His conscious mind forgot the incidents, but the impressions were still there. So those were causing the fear. And that fear was, a big block. So the tendency to run away from whatever he had to do became very, very strong because of this fear. And that was projecting these physical diseases. So through sadhana, when he released all those impressions, and when he found that it was this tendency to escape which was the real issue, he worked on that. He followed every little thing which I had told him. He was an excellent sadhak. So within a few months, he was able to completely overcome that. Thereafter, he never felt sick before any event and all that. At least not because of these reasons. So he was able to, socialize. See, that is also a part of one's life, So, when the tendency to escape manifests in a particular area, now that will not manifest directly as a tendency to escape, but it will manifest in one of these ways. Like it could be physical reasons, or it could be emotional reasons, like Arjuna. If you take Arjuna's case, it was an emotional weakness. He was unable to face the challenge which was in front of him. He was unable to resolve the emotional turmoil which he was going through. But Arjuna himself was not aware of the cause. So he brought in various logic, just as this person started bringing in various logic, saying that, see, I want to come to the event, but what to do? My body is not cooperating. I'm falling sick. So all these were very good logic which he was giving. But it was all based on certain illusions only. Similarly, in the first chapter, Arjuna was giving various logic. My own cousins are standing there. How can I fight with them? What is the use of all this? He even went to the extent of saying it is better to beg, to live on alms, he says, rather than killing all these negative people. There also, he clearly knows that they are negative, they are unrighteous, but he says it's better to do that. It's a great sin. Even in the beginning of the third chapter, he uses the word, Aghora karma. What does it mean? He considers it as a sin. So all this logic was given by Arjuna, and it was very convincing to him. He genuinely thought that this is what I need to do. That is, I need to avoid my duties. Why? These reasons. But the real reason was his emotional weakness. So whenever you have a weakness, now that will project various logic, various reasons, and prevent you from doing whatever you ought to do. This is how the tendency of escapism functions in your life. The third reason could be intellectual reasons. Why is it that I don't want to do this? A good example of this would be, supposing, let us say, your children or your spouse, they tell you that you're not spending enough time with us. Now, that may be factually true, but you will immediately give various logic. See, time is only 24 hours. In that 24 hours, so much I have to sleep. Now, so much of work is there. I have to do this work. After all, I am working for you all only. Many people say that, So therefore, I am not getting time. Now, all this looks very, very convincing. But the fact is, there is the weakness inside. And then, as I told you, the weakness can be spiritual also. The moment you use spirituality, that is this higher wisdom, to avoid doing your duties, then you are misusing spirituality. Remember that. In the name of spirituality, people shirk their duties. That is the worst thing which you can do. Because other reasons at least you can overcome. But when you give spirituality itself as a reason, then that really, your ego becomes very strong. That strengthens your ego. You feel whatever you're doing is correct. If you do a non-spiritual thing, and let us say it is wrong, there is always a chance that you can correct yourself. Because deep within you, you know that this is not the higher way of doing. But if you give the spirituality itself as a reason, then the chances of you correcting yourself become very less, because you feel whatever you're doing is right. It's very dangerous. So remember, spirituality, the ancient wisdom, the higher wisdom, is not a philosophy, is not a way of escapism, of running away. It is not teaching you how to live life. It is teaching you how to live life. The entire Bhagavad Gita is actually teaching you how to live your life. Some people, they don't do anything productive in life. They are very lazy, tamasic. But if you go and talk to them, they will talk the highest philosophy. Anyway, we have to leave everything and go, they'll say. If you're not careful, you may get convinced, See, that person will not be going for any work. He may be, he may be a burden to others. But the reasons which he gives will be very convincing. Are we going to take all this wealth and everything, and are we going to go, whether it is when we die? We anyway have to leave all this. These are all laukika. Laukika means worldly. That's a very common phrase which so-called spiritual people use, I don't deal with all laukikam, the worldly things. So you have to be very careful. A sadhak is one who does not give any excuses to run away from whatever he or she has to do. A spiritual master does his duties to perfection. They will never neglect any aspect of life. So these are all the various tricks which your mind can play, and when you fall into one or two of these traps of your own mind, then you will get into the spirit of anarambha. Anarambha means I've explained that, many dimensions, not wanting to start something, that is no initiation of action, and then not wanting to take up responsibility, no commitments, doing things in a very slow way, not acting in a timely way. Not putting in the necessary effort, wanting everything free. So these are all the various ways by which the anarambha can manifest. So I'm giving you these points. So I'm giving you few points every week, so that you can embark on this process of studying yourself, studying your own mind. That is called swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means studying oneself. It is very important to make a clear study, a thorough study of yourself. When you're doing that, don't get involved with the negativities. In an objective way, you have to see what is that factor. It could be one factor, or it could be a combination of 2-3 factors. So what are those factors which are preventing you from living your life fully? So karma yoga means 100% living, 100% worldliness and 100% spirituality. That combination is karma yoga. So Krishna, before even giving the central theme, the central principles of karma yoga, he is attacking the weakness of Arjuna. Because he knows that this will come as a block. He may give the highest philosophy, but till Arjuna will not be able to practice all those principles, because of this major block, that is the tendency to escape. So in this verse, he is attacking that. This is how he is laying the foundation. So as Arjuna begins to ponder on these points, and as the process of self-transformation starts, now Krishna will start giving various other higher principles of karma yoga, which Arjuna will be able to absorb. So that is the sadhana message which we get as a sadhak. When you're doing your sadhana, you should see both these factors. One is what you need to do, and the other is what are the factors which are preventing you from doing that. So through your sadhana, you should release those factors, like what this man did. The most important thing which you should notice, when he was giving reasons, the physical ailments as his reason for not socializing, he felt he was in a helpless condition. See, this was his argument, this was his logic. He said, if it is anything else within my control, I will do that. But here, when my body is falling sick, now what can I do? Very convincing logic. It looks as if nothing is under his control. But the moment he did sadhana, now the whole situation changed. He found that his own body was actually under his control only. So the feeling of helplessness is a very dangerous thing. See, if you don't do the sadhana of arambha, what will happen is slowly in life, you will get into a state of helplessness. You will feel nothing is under your control. That was the state of Arjuna. Arjuna was actually in a deep state of anarambha. He felt helpless. He said, see, even if I want to fight, I am not able to hold my bow. I don't have that strength. A helpless feeling. So whenever in any area of life you are stuck, you feel helpless, then you have to practice the sadhana of arambha. Use the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana material and find out what are the factors which are preventing you from doing that. A yogi never feels helpless in life. As a sadhak, as your limiting blocks are removed through the process of sadhana, the feeling of helplessness will start going away. Rather, the energy of positivity, the energy of cheer, that energy of dynamism which says, yes, I can choose to do whatever I want to do. I will create my own destiny. Those are the thoughts which will come strongly to you. Your very approach towards life itself will change. So by non-commencement of action, by anarambha, one does not obtain the state of naishkarmyam, actionlessness. So last week we started exploring this principle of naishkarmyam. So one thing is very clear. Anarambhat means not initiating karma, action. So here naishkarmyam is the highest state of perfection, actionlessness. So when he talks of naishkarmyam, he does not mean physically stopping action. That is very, very clear by merely reading the translation itself. So then, if he does not mean physically stopping your activities, then what can it be? That's why you should understand the concept of being an indweller. Last week I had told you, deha is the body. Dehinaha is the indweller. You are operating through this body. So there are various forces which are driving the body to action. So at the first level, you should understand the mind, the facets of the mind which are driving the body to action. So actionlessness, naishkarmyam, means calming the mind, keeping the mind in a state of rest when the body is acting dynamically. So a yogi is one who acts dynamically in life, but his mind is always in a state of rest. Swami Ramatita puts it very beautifully. He says, your body should be subject to the laws of dynamics, and your mind should be subject to the laws of statics, he says. Ramatita was a great mathematician. He was a mathematics professor actually. Mathematician, and his interest was physics, chemistry, and he was a very scientific minded person. So your body should act dynamically. You should do whatever you ought to do in every area of your life. But your mind should be in a state of rest, a state of tranquility. Now, if you were to observe your life today, it is exactly the reverse. You physically withdraw, you physically stop activity, but your mind is very active. It is never in a state of rest. Actually, when your mind is not in a state of rest, that is what in psychology they call as stress. Now, stress actually reduces your capacity to act. So, generally speaking, there is a misconception. Spirituality, because you may have heard these terms like Naishkarmyam, actionlessness and all this. So, you think that anybody who does not act is very spiritual. And a person who is amidst activity, you feel that that person cannot be spiritual. So here he is completely reversing that process. So you should use this to examine your own concepts. What is the concept of spirituality which you are having today? All external factors, you make a judgment over a person, whether that person is spiritual or not, based on external factors. Like what is the dress that person is wearing. See, it is all related to escapism only. What, if that person is not doing anything, you'll say, he is a great spiritual person. Why? Because he is not doing anything. Now, in the coming verses, Krishna will be going into more depth regarding this. He actually says in one of the verses later on, see, a person who physically withdraws his senses, but who is mentally, that is, who is mentally very active, that is, mind is running towards the sense objects, mityachara sauchyate. Such a person is called a hypocrite, he says. He is nowhere near being a spiritually advanced person. So, Naishkarmyam, at the first level, the sadhana of Naishkarmyam is nothing but achieving this combination. Putting your body to act, acting very dynamically in the world, performing all your duties, but putting your mind to rest. This doesn't happen at one go. It's not that, now today I know what Naishkarmyam is, now let me go and now start practicing it. Of course, you should try to practice it, but you may not be able to master it at one go. That is a slow process, a gradual process. It is only through regular sadhana that a person will be able to practice Naishkarmyam. And for you to get established in that state, that is a very advanced state. So Lord Krishna himself demonstrated that. He was a charioteer of Arjuna. He was participating in the war, and he was not wielding any weapons. He was playing the role of a charioteer. So every arrow has to pass Krishna, and then only it will go to Arjuna. So he put himself in a more dangerous position than Arjuna. But in spite of all that, his mind was always in a state of rest. So very interestingly, you'll find in the Puranic stories and incidents, the gods, how they have depicted the primary gods. Like if you take Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Now Brahma, they say, is a god of creation. Vishnu is a god of maintenance. Shiva is a god of destruction. Now, per se, if you take these three activities, creating something, destroying something, and maintaining something. Now, all these three are specialized work, specialized activities. If you involve yourself in any one of these, now that causes a lot of strain in your mind. The moment you want to create something, now that causes a certain amount of stress in your mind. The moment you have to destroy something, it could be the destruction means it could be removing your old habits and creating a new habit. See, the energy of creation, destruction, they always go hand in hand. Unless you destroy something, you cannot create something new. And so in this whole process, maintenance happens. So again the mind will get very stressed. But how have the Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara been portrayed? They are always in a state of relaxation. If you take Brahma, he is sitting on the lotus, always in a state of meditation. The entire world is being created. So much is going on, but he is in a state of meditation. If you take Lord Shiva, he is the god of destruction, but always peaceful in a state of meditation. If you take Lord Vishnu, he is reclining, happily in a state of yoga nidra. The whole world is being maintained, but he is extremely relaxed. This is how they have given the deeper message in the form of Puranas. It's very, very powerful messages. So it is not enough if you say, I am a devotee of Vishnu or I am a devotee of Shiva. You have to absorb the higher spiritual energy from them. So if you are truly a devotee of Vishnu, and if you if you are able to absorb his energy, then naturally you will become very, very relaxed in life, but you will be doing everything which you ought to do. All the activities will be happening, but internally you will be relaxed. If you are truly a devotee of Shiva, if you claim that I am a very staunch devotee of Lord Shiva, then you will be doing all your activities, but always maintaining a state of rest. Your mind will always be meditative. You see, all the gods and goddesses are like that. Parvati, goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmi represents wealth. When you acquire more wealth today, that causes a lot of stress in your mind, because now the fear of losing that immediately comes. But how has goddess Lakshmi been portrayed? She is the very personification of wealth, but always in a state of peace. So both these aspects have been portrayed. On one hand, intense activity. On the other hand, intense rest. That is why when someone asked Swami Ramatita, what is rest? He gave an amazing definition. intense work is rest. This is what he said. Intense work is rest. Why? Because only when your mind is in a state of rest, you will have the capacity to work intensely. The moment the mind gets stressed, then your capacity to work starts reducing. So, Naishkarmyam, actionlessness, is a very, very powerful state where your mind is at complete rest, but your body is acting dynamically. So don't think a yogi who is sitting and meditating is being lazy. No, he is doing very intense activity. Meditation is a subtlest sadhana. That is why I suggest to all the sadhaks, to avoid using terminologies like meditation. That is, to describe your sadhana. If somebody asks you what do you do every day, if you say I meditate for 1 hour, now avoid using that, because you're unnecessarily equating yourself to the great masters. Instead, you say I am doing sadhana. That will ensure that your ego does not develop. Because the word meditation itself can give you ego if you're not careful. Meditation is meant to remove ego, but that itself can give a boost to your ego. So, Naishkarmyam, actionlessness, beautiful principle. Now, this first at the mind level. Now let us go a little more deep. If you want to understand what is actionlessness, Naishkarmyam, first you need to understand what is karma, action. We will see the chronology. How does action come about? Once you understand that, then you will get a deeper insight about actionlessness. Now, whenever you are acting physically, that is called karma in general terms. Now, all your actions are actually springing from your mind, desires. If you don't have a desire to do something, now you will not do that. See, supposing you are quoting some object, that is also because of a desire. If you are avoiding an object, that is also because of a desire. You have the desire to go away from that object. Either way, it is your desires which drive your body to act. This is the first level. Now, where do these desires come from? How are these desires created? What is the very mechanism of desires? It is nothing but thoughts. Thoughts produce desires. See, what is the difference between one thought and a desire? Supposing you get a thought, I need to get a car. I need to buy a car. Now, this is one thought. It is not that you will immediately go and start acting. Then a stream of thoughts will start flowing towards that object, here in this example, car. And as the thought flow increases, you will develop a desire to go and buy a car. So we can say a desire is nothing but a stream of thoughts running towards an object. So if it is just one thought, we say it is at the thought level. But when it is a stream of thoughts, we call it a desire, because it gathers a lot of momentum, a lot of force. So actions spring from desires, and desires come basically from thoughts only. What is the material of desires is nothing but thoughts. Now, the next question is, where do these thoughts come from? See, our yogis were very, very deep through the process of self-introspection and higher meditation. They went deep within themselves and discovered the very chronology of action. Action is at the manifested stage. But what is behind that? You need to understand it. If you want to master Karma Yoga, you have to make a thorough study of yourself. That is why it's not possible to separate Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and all, and Bhakti Yoga, and all these things. You have to do your sadhana combining all these principles. For analysis sake, we may study each one separately, but in practice, you have to follow everything together. Without self-study, Karma Yoga is not possible. And self-study is what they call as Jnana Yoga. And without Bhakti, again, Karma Yoga is not possible. Without the right Bhavana. That is what they are calling it as Bhakti Yoga. So, what is the origin of thoughts? So, when these great yogis, when they did meditation, they went up to the thought level and then they kept on penetrating their own personality within through the process of meditation. They found that each thought has a seed. See, up to the thought level, it's easy to understand, but then when you go deeper within yourself, you will find that all these thoughts are coming from various seeds. Those seeds are called vasanas. See, you can either call them vasanas, in some other context they are called samskaras, in some other context they are called as avidya, ignorance. You can use various words, impressions, seeds. These are all nothing but different facets of that one thing. So those vasanas or impressions, now they create various thoughts. As long as you are having a lot of vasanas, as long as you're loaded with impressions, now thoughts will keep on coming without your control. So when you are loaded with vasanas, why are they calling it ignorance? That forms a covering. It doesn't allow you to experience the infinite self which you are. You are that supreme infinite God principle, but you are unable to experience that because of this covering of ignorance. Elsewhere, he calls it as avarna. Avarna means nothing but covering. So, karana sharira, they say, causal body. It's the same thing. Some people, sometimes they use the word karma sharira, karmic body, that which causes all the karma. It's all referring to one and the same thing, different dimensions of that aspect within you. So when you wake up in the morning, you have a lot of thoughts, then desires, and you keep acting. Then when you go back to sleep in the night, what happens to all those activities? They stop. Then slowly you have dreams and all that. That is again at the thought and desire level. And after a while, all those dreams also subside. Even for a short time, supposing you enter into deep sleep, a state of thoughtlessness for a while, and then again you wake up, the thoughts start coming. So when you were in deep sleep, where were you? Where were all your desires? Where were your thoughts? They were all there, but they were in the seed form. That is what we call as vasanas. So vasanas produce thoughts, and thoughts produce desires, and desires drive you to act. Now, the most important thing is, when we say vasanas produce thoughts, as long as vasanas are there, thoughts will be produced without your control, uncontrolled thoughts. And as long as your thoughts are uncontrolled, they will they will develop into desires. So your desires also will be uncontrolled. And when you have uncontrolled thoughts and desires, they will automatically drive you to act. So when you are in a state of ignorance, when your ignorance level is very high, now that produces uncontrolled thoughts and desires. And from that comes your activities, actions. So when he talks of actionlessness, there is no meaning in stopping the last step, which is physical actions. Because the moment you stop those physical actions, now your thoughts and desires are not going to go away. They are still going to go on. Your mind will be in a state of unrest only. When will they stop? Only when you remove the ignorance. When you burn up all your seeds, your impressions, your vasanas, your karmas in the deepest sense. See, the most interesting is in the Sanskritam language, the last step, which is manifestation, that is action, that is also called karma. And the first step, the impressions, that is also called karma. That is why we have to see the context. So when these great masters talked about actionlessness, they didn't talk about merely stopping of physical action. They are talking about the root of actions. So when you are in a state of ignorance, your thoughts and desires are out of your control. Now, when you burn up all your impressions through sadhana and you remove your ignorance, you become self-illumined. In the meditation every Sunday, I say, I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. It's a very powerful mantra, Swayam Prakashit. So you get into that state. As your ignorance starts going away, the prakasha, the light of wisdom starts shining forth from within you. Now once that happens, your thoughts will not manifest without your control. For a person who is in a state of ignorance, the desire is called kamaha. The thought will be uncontrolled. For a person who is in a state of wisdom, if he or she generates a thought, that thought will be very much within his control. And then consciously, when he generates a stream of thoughts, that is called ichha, not kamaha. That the ichha is also desire only. See, both kamaha and ichha, if you take the English meaning, the English translation, it will be desire. But one is uncontrolled desire, that is kamaha, and the other is a desire, a conscious desire, that which is being developed out of choice. And anytime you want, you can withdraw that. You can withdraw your mind. So when you develop Ichha Shakti, and then if your actions manifest from your controlled thoughts and your Ichha Shakti, then that state is called actionlessness. Because even though you are acting, you are not acting. From if you look at it from a spiritual standpoint. So, Naishkarmyam is nothing but a state of complete wisdom, a state of vasana-lessness, a state of impressionlessness. The result of that is your mind comes under your control. You master your mind 100%. So even when your body is acting, your mind is always at rest. See, when your thoughts and desires are not under your control, now your mind will not be in a state of rest. Whereas when your thoughts are under your control and when your desires are also under your control, then even though the thoughts and desires are there, you are still in a state of rest. It is exactly like driving a car. Supposing you are driving at a particular speed, if you are not under your if you are not under control, that is, the steering control is not there, then you will drive in a haphazard way, a restless way. Whereas when you have perfect steering control, you may be driving your car at a very high speed. Still, you will be driving in a very calm way. So if that we can call as a state of stress, this is a state of calmness. It's the same thing with respect to yourself also. Instead of the car, now take this body. Your body itself is a vehicle. So with this vehicle of the body, you're performing various activities. Now, the driving force behind activities is your mind. So if your mind is not under your control, if mind means the desires and thoughts, the buddhi, the intellect is also a part of the total mind only. Here we are using the word mind in a general way to refer to all your thoughts and desires. So when your thoughts and desires are not under your control, it is like driving the car without any steering control. Now, why is it that the thoughts and desires are not under your control? Because of the ignorance, the impressions. So when you overcome the state of ignorance, as you start getting self-knowledge, self-wisdom, Atma Bodha means the wisdom of the self from within, then automatically your mind will get into a state of rest. So state of rest doesn't mean no thoughts. It means no thoughts by themselves. See, driving in a peaceful way doesn't mean you will be driving slowly. You may be driving at a high speed also. So whether you're driving in a peaceful way or in a restless way depends on your steering control, not on your speed. Similarly, whether a person's mind is in a state of rest or not is dependent on whether the thoughts and desires, that is the mind, is under his control or not. Most people think a spiritual person means there will be no thoughts, no desires. Yes, no thoughts, no desires on its own, on their own. But for functional purposes, if a thought is required, a yogi can generate a thought at will, he can generate a desire at will. That is what is called Ichha Shakti. And he can act dynamically, and then whenever he wants, once the action is over, he will withdraw the mind 100%. He will withdraw the Ichha, the desire, and he will withdraw the thought also, and he will be resting in that thoughtless state. So even when a yogi is acting, since his thoughts and desires are well under his control, he is a master, he is in a state of rest. That is called Naishkarmyam. What a magnificent word he's using, See, these masters, these yogis were such geniuses. One word they use, Naishkarmyam, that one word is enough for you to understand yourself completely. What are your manifestations and from where do these manifestations come? If you just penetrate and go deep into this word Naishkarmyam, you get the entire wisdom, the higher wisdom. So powerful. So when you don't understand all this, you will just merely stop the physical activity, but your mind will not at all be under your control. So in the name of spirituality, that is what most people are doing. They just get into a state of suppression. It's like, a big force of water. It's coming with great speed, force. And if you just put a block there, if you stop it from expressing, now it'll just go helter-skelter and it can cause a lot of damage. So people who just merely stop activities without gaining control over their minds, now the mind is a form of energy only. Thoughts and desires are subtle energies. Now that energy needs some other vent. So it will start creating all kinds of issues in life. So as a sadhana, today you can reflect on this internally. See, one is the external study, the ignorance, vasanas, the impressions, they give rise to thoughts, thoughts to desires, desires to action. Very beautifully you have presented and you have submitted. That is the first step. But now, using this, you should do self-study. If you close your eyes and think, see, these are the various activities which I am doing. Now, what are the forces behind these activities? You will find your own mind, your desires. So from where do these desires come? From my thoughts. Up to that, see, that itself is very difficult. See, it is easy to externally understand it, but I am saying to understand it from deep within is very difficult. And then from there you need to penetrate into the karmic body. It's a gradual process. So as a sadhana tip today, you can just find out those activities which are causing a lot of stress in you. Stressful activities, problem areas. Just take up one area and now see how you are acting in that area. Those are your external manifestations. Now what I want you to do, a small sadhana, is see what are the forces behind your activities. The internal forces. How is your mind functioning when you are acting in that particular area? If you are able to even watch your mind a little bit and see the fluctuations, the stress. See, whenever the thoughts and desires are not under your control, the mind will start fluctuating. That is what is technically called a stress. So even if you are able to see that a little bit, now that will give you a lot of wisdom. Your sadhana will start getting deepened because your awareness will increase. So that is a small homework which I am giving you for today. Just take up one area where there is a problem. How am I acting? What are my actions in that area? See, you are always focusing on what mistakes others are making. Instead, what is happening with me? How am I acting there? And then, what is behind that action? Don't straight away go to thoughts and seeds, avidya and all that. That will be difficult. That is slowly through sadhana only you can do that. But the immediate force which is behind that action. And if you are able to look at the stress factor, that is the fluctuations of the mind, the restlessness of the mind, which is driving you to act in that particular way, that itself is a very powerful sadhana. Just watch it. Don't do anything about it. The moment you get involved with that, now unnecessarily you will increase the problem. See, you only know two extremes. Either you are not at all aware, or in the name of awareness you get completely involved. Now here we are talking about the middle path. That is the first step of Naishkarmyam. If you want to get into the state of Naishkarmyam, this is the starting point. So you do that small homework today. Next week we will continue with this. It's a very powerful wisdom, that is the higher wisdom which has been given to you. It is not about knowing these things externally. Oh, I have read this long back in a particular book, supposing a person. No, so what? What impact has it created in your life? Has your mind come under your control? Yes or no? No means you are at the first step only. See, what is the difference between a person who doesn't know the theory of swimming and a person who knows the theory of swimming but who has never entered the waters and who has never tried out swimming? Now, what is the difference between those two? Both of them are at the same level only. Person who does not know swimming also will drown. A person who knows merely the theory but who has never practiced swimming, he will also drown if you put him in water. But the person who knows the theory of swimming gets an ego. Oh, I know what is this stroke. I know exactly the logic of how to balance in water and all that. All at the theory level, He unnecessarily develops an ego. So a person who is in ignorance and a person who has merely gained knowledge, both of them are at the same level only. But a person who has gained knowledge from the scriptures and all that, now he develops an ego. He thinks he is superior. But who is a really advanced person spiritually? Not one who is ignorant, not one who is merely knowledgeable, but one who has gained the wisdom. Practically, he or she has gained mastery over the mind. So the first step of Naishkarmyam is mastery over the mind. Then only you can go further deep. In the Anandoham, that is infinite happiness empowerment course which we are doing now, the Karana Sharira, the causal body, the fifth dimension is being opened up. You all are experiencing that. Very, very powerful empowerments are being given. So that will be burning up a lot of karmas. And after that, you will be able to easily practice the sadhana of Naishkarmyam. Because as the ignorance is getting burnt up every day in this infinite happiness course, we are directly entering into the causal body, isn't it? And when the higher energy, the sadhana is being given, and when the subtler sadhana is done, a lot of burning up of these karmas are happening. So when that happens, your base level will be lifted up because your thoughts and desires will automatically come under your control, relatively. It's not 0 or 100. If you're at 10% level, now you will move to the 20%. 20, you'll move to 30. That's how it goes. So to the extent your thoughts and desires are under your control, to that extent you will be in a state of Naishkarmyam. You will be able to act more peacefully. So you think about this, do that small homework. So the homework mainly stresses on not externally understanding these principles, but internalizing it. And when you're doing the process of internalization, you can't jump many steps and go off to the causal body. That's not possible. So just the first step from action to what is just behind the action. If your action is not satisfactory, then you have to see the negative force behind that particular action, which is the fluctuation of the mind. The small sadhana you do, and next week we will go further. Okay? So now we'll do the meditation. So in today's meditation, very, very powerful suggestions will be implanted in the deeper layers of your mind about Naishkarmyam. Because see, when we talk of the sadhana of Arambha, that itself people say is very difficult, but that is relatively easy when compared to the sadhana of Naishkarmyam. Because Naishkarmyam is such a subtle principle. So for you to get a hang of it within you will take a while. But first at least appreciate these principles and take those baby steps, the small step. What is my action? What is that which is immediately behind the action? Internally, if you're able to see that correlation, that is when you're gaining true wisdom. If you're merely writing it externally and stopping with that, that is a starting point. If you don't even have external knowledge, how will you gain the internal wisdom? So first you gain the external knowledge, but then this is the process of internalizing and converting it into wisdom. Okay? So now we'll do the meditation. Sit in a relaxed way. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. Feel the divine vibrations. with every breath, I'm going deeper and deeper into myself. Beyond my physical body, beyond my emotions, beyond my thoughts, beyond my karmas, impressions, lies my essential self, the infinite supreme reality. I am one with that supreme self. From this moment onwards, I choose to overcome the tendency of escapism and do all my duties in life I choose to be very sincere and regular in my sadhana, through which I can burn up all my impressions and get into a state of naishkarmyam, actionlessness. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes, rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. It's a very deep session which we had today. You can write down your points and reflect on them. Writing down gives a lot of clarity. And then using them, you can internalize your sadhana and get that inner clarity. It is a gradual process. So the truth is one only. Whether you approach it through Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, whatever method it is, does not matter. They are all one and the same. The emphasis may shift. One may emphasize a little more on action, purification of action. One may emphasize on purification of the bhavana. One may emphasize on purification of thoughts. But all these three are necessary for you to function in life. So there is no contradiction. Okay? So we will continue next week. Thank you very much. Hari Om.